Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. A few days ago, I was watching a seminar of RSD Tyler. I don't know if any of you know this guy. He used to be a big inspiration of mine, and he actually still is. He creates a lot of free, great content on self-development, dating, spirituality, psychology. He does crazy stuff, and he has immense energy. Like, this guy is just like a clown jumping around, and you have to be either for or against him. I think that he has a lot of people who absolutely love what he does, and then there's also a ton of people who totally hate him. I personally think he is a great character who teaches social dynamics in a very comprehensive manner, and he has been a great inspiration in my life. And one thing that he talked about was pick a project that you can test yourself on, and for some reason it really captured my attention, and I thought it was a great thing to think about a little bit, right? Because what is the project that you want to test yourself on? Currently, for me, it is this YouTube channel. It's really something that I want to test myself on, and it is a challenge to, come up with daily video topics, to stay consistent. However, it is also a fantastic opportunity to test myself on, right? Can I make it work? Yes, because I want to, and I want to stay committed, and I want to show up for myself. And so it is a test, but it's also a very powerful reward, because you can actually make the commitment and then show up for yourself. And this allows you to gain self-trust, right? Set small goals, or a big goal. Set a big goal, break it down into small daily goals, and then show up, commit to achieving these goals, to making it happen. And that way you know that you can actually rely on yourself. Your word has power. Your word is truthful. It's authentic. And that breeds inner confidence. That breeds a knowing that you can really trust yourself to show up, right? And I used to abandon myself almost daily when I was younger, because I was such a people pleaser. So I would agree on things that I actually didn't want to agree on, and that was very, very draining, and it made me really, really angry and resentful growing up, right? I was so angry mostly at myself for abandoning myself all the time, for not being able to draw strong boundaries. And as I got older, I started to realize that, first of all, people actually don't really care that much. And secondly, by drawing strong boundaries, you actually gain so much more respect, not only from others, but also for yourself, because you actually show up for yourself. You actually commit to yourself. You actually say things that you know you will back up. You will show up. You will stand for it. And that is a very, very powerful thing to realize. And it breeds true self-confidence, true inner trust. And I have been through a very long journey to overcome my people-pleasing behavior, because I was so dependent on other people's validation, other people's input, opinions. I was so dependent on that, and I would filter out all the negative things and try to correct them, right? 100 people could say something nice about me, and then there was this one person that said something negative, and I would want to fix that. I would obsess about putting things right with this person, trying to please them so all 101 people could actually like me, right? But that is just preposterous, and it's even, delusional, because it's impossible to do that. You can't please everyone, and you actually really don't want to do that, right? So this project is also a great example of me committing to something that I find important and showing up for you guys every single day, because you guys are truly important to me, right? I want to share the things that I experienced and talk about in my videos, so you can hopefully gain some insights. You can relate to what I've been through, because feeling alone with this, it's tough. It's really tough. And it always helped me to feel less alone if I could hear people talk about the things that I was struggling with at the time, right? So that's why I do this. And so picking a project that you can test yourself on is a great way to build inner confidence, is a great way to challenge your people-pleasing behaviors. So you have to at some point be a little bit more polarizing. You have to at some point really state your opinions, your style, your attitude. And it's going to filter out a lot of people who don't like what you do. They will either start hating, or they will just fall off, and that's totally fine. You will probably lose friends in the process, but you will also gain a lot of friends in the process, and that's beautiful, because you're filtering out the people who actually resonate with you at this moment in time. And surrounding yourself with the people that you don't really resonate with, but that you try to please, is very, very draining. And you might not even be consciously aware that you're doing it. But once you realize it, once you become aware, you will start to notice that, wow, I am actually really spending so much time and energy on maintaining and kind of like manipulating other people's opinions about me. And that is so inauthentic, right? You lose so much energy trying to make everyone like you. And it's actually a very manipulative kind of like tactic, because first of all, you can make everybody like you. And second of all, you are not being authentic. You're not being true. You're not being honest. Your personality is constantly shifting, because when you are hanging out with these people, you're like this, and when you're hanging out with those people, you're like that. And you maybe even want to separate these two groups of people because you don't want them to find out that you're not a consistent person, that with them you act maybe all cool and like you don't care, and then with the other people you act like you care very much. And so you're afraid to bring these people together because that will make them totally confused about who you actually are. And maybe you are not even aware of who you are. And I definitely struggled with this when I was younger. I didn't know who I was, simply because I was trying to please everyone. And then your identity becomes this fluid kind of mix of all kinds of influences, and you don't really know who you are. And it is an ongoing process, right? Of course, people constantly change, and that's a beautiful thing. I really do believe that people can change if they want to, and if they commit to the change, then that will happen, right? And sometimes life throws you curveballs and you have to change, right? You have no other choice. And sometimes it is a conscious, deliberate choice to change, which I think is very admirable, right? Your personality is not decided by the past. Your past doesn't have to decide who you are becoming, right? You can let go of who you used to be and choose to be someone else. That's, again, why I'm so big on who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to become? I think it's very important for you to think about these things regularly, because it's so easy to lose track of things and to, to get off track and to get confused about what's actually truly important. And by auditing yourself regularly, you can course correct, right? Is this, interesting idea of a boat, if it's following its course and it's off course by 1 degree, well, if it continues to go that route, then in a few months it will be almost like completely the opposite side of the country that it was traveling to, for example, right? Just 1% off course compounded over time will completely steer the ship astray, right? And it's the same with us. If we don't constantly course correct, then we can find ourselves in a place where we actually totally didn't want to end up, and we were not even aware. So that's why I think it's really important to stay focused, to stay aware, to remind yourself to audit your life, to see where you're at, to really, pay attention to what are you doing on a daily basis, what are the thoughts that are in your mind on a daily basis, the ideas, the beliefs, the people that you surround yourself with, the things you do. Being aware of these things and, paying close attention and journaling about it or talking about it or meditating on it can allow you to course correct when it's not too late yet. And of course, sometimes you will find yourself astray. And that's okay. You will figure out how to get back again. But it can be more difficult to do that than if you would take some time every day or weekly to audit where you're going, what you're doing. What are your main questions you're asking yourself? What are the main thoughts that are in your head? Stay aware, stay conscious. Because if you lose track, your subconscious will absolutely take over, and you can get lost so easily, right? I can't say this is what you need to do or this is what you have to figure out for yourself. This is something that you have to just explore for yourself. I can only, guide the conversation a little bit or ask questions that could potentially lead to powerful answers. And I talked about this in a previous video of mine. The quality of your life is really determined by the questions you ask yourself. So start to ask yourself quality questions. You can find lists of very good questions online even. You can do a quick Google search. What are great questions to ask yourself? And taking some time every week or every day or every month even, I don't care how frequent you do it, to ask yourself these questions will allow you to course correct, right? An airplane that flies on autopilot, it's a constant feedback loop. It's not you set it to the destination and it flies there without course correcting. No, the algorithm is actually constantly looping back the altitude and the direction the plane is flying. So it's constantly a little bit off course, and then it course corrects constantly. And that's how it eventually ends up at the right destination. I believe that it's a great way to approach your own life, to check in with yourself regularly and to course correct when it's needed. Because if you don't, your subconscious forces will take over, and you might find yourself in a situation that you didn't see coming whatsoever, simply because you just slipped into it, right? And that is something that I've experienced myself, right? I just slipped into this depressive phase in my life where I developed a severe eating disorder, and it just happened subconsciously, somewhere deep in the back of my head. I knew I was doing something that was not quite right, but it was not conscious enough. I was not aware enough. And then before I knew it, I was somewhere in a place that I had no clue how to get out there, and how I even ended up there, right? I was so unconscious that I was engaging in this self-destructive behavior that after a while I was completely lost, and I didn't know how to get out. And then it took me a long time to rebuild my confidence, to start to open myself up to talk about it, because there's a lot of shame surrounding being depressed or having an eating disorder, right? You feel ashamed. You feel so ashamed. And also, for example, if you had loss of a loved one or you had a traumatic experience, if it takes a while for you to heal, after a while, you start to kind of feel a little bit ashamed about maybe the time it takes you to heal. And there is absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. Really not, right? You take the time you need to heal. You take the time to learn your lessons, and there is no shame in that, because I believe that the shame and the guilt are actually perpetuating the problem. They're causing even more pain, more suffering, and they're extending your healing journey, right? So accept that right now for you it might be hard and difficult to deal with whatever you're dealing with, and that's okay. You don't have to feel ashamed or guilty because of that, because everybody struggles with something in their life at some point. And for everyone, it takes a different amount of time. Everybody is different, right? So a friend of mine actually shared that she was really struggling a lot, and that she felt ashamed because there's so many people who have worse situations than she does. And I told her that, everybody experiences this world differently. What you go through, the amount of suffering you experience, it is subjective to you, right? You can't start to compare people's traumas or the things that they've been through, and nothing is worse or less worse. What is suffering for you is suffering for you, and there is no shame or guilt in that. Comparing your suffering to other people's suffering, especially if it induces shame and guilt, is not helping you whatsoever. So by allowing yourself to go through your own healing process, by allowing yourself to have a difficult time sometimes, and accepting that it is in fact not easy, even though there might be people suffering way more in other parts of the world, that still doesn't mean that right now your pain is not real. Your pain is real, and that is nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilty about, right? Of course, you also want to be proactive and understand that you have a certain amount of responsibility. It's not what happens to us that causes the most suffering, but our response to what happens to us. So you can, in fact, choose your response to whatever is happening in your life. You can choose your response. But that doesn't mean that your pain is not real. It is absolutely real. And there is no reason for you to feel guilty or ashamed about it. So try to let go of that a little bit more. Today, tomorrow, next week, be kind to yourself and audit what is causing you to suffer the most. Really honestly take an inventory and check what is draining your energy, what is bothering you, and go fix those things. And then pick a project that you can challenge yourself on, right? That you can test yourself on. And it might be overcoming your current difficult situation. That is a project that you can really test yourself on, right? Are you able to heal from this? Are you able to learn the lessons that are embedded in whatever you're going through right now? And I'm sure that you are. You are able to do hard things. You can do hard things. You absolutely can. And there is nothing to be ashamed about. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it caused you to think a little bit. I hope it made you feel supported and cared for, because I want you to feel supported and cared for. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.